Build your team store. We're the brand that wins. SpartanWare, trusted by the grind.
RSCast is the stats that we're bringing. Stream alerts, you know that's where we're pinging. The usual plays and the fails that we're showing. How's the week gone? It's what we're reviewing. Yeah. Rhino cost in the flesh, he's made the attendance. Paying for him drained all of our receipts account balance. He's made it big now, costing the main event action. Doesn't cost for us now, does it not give him satisfaction? Biggest Sus is his name, but of course we can't forget the sir. Team Serene haven't missed you as AGM, it was a blur. Didn't take long to win franchise of the season without you. Finally got yourself a haircut, that's so long way overdue. Well, we got ourselves a real life lunchbox on screen. With Kingsman around, there's one less player on your team. Dan Skew didn't want to run it back, not surprised man. Even scared of cash so fast, he flew straight to Japan. Lastly, Ma, please do us a favor and don't break the stream. If you didn't have V-Mix, you wouldn't even be on the team. RSCast is the stats that we're bringing. Stream alerts, you know that's where we're pinging. The usual plays and the fails that we're showing. How's the week gone? It's what we're reviewing.
Oh, well, that was a lot of fun for us, certainly. We're live on stream. Welcome back to a brand new RSC season and your first RScast of season 17. Some things are fresh and new, like our new day being Tuesday, but two things stay the same. Your RScast panelists and Kingsman Gas getting carried in Master. I'm your host, Rhino. It's a pleasure to join you for another season, and I am joined, as always, by the people who actually know what they're talking about, and chat definitely won't argue with that. Kingsman Gas and Sir Pegasus, how are you doing tonight, Pig?
Oh, it's a pleasure as always to be back. It's a nice fresh lookout for all of our RScasts moving forward. And by the way, I'm just going to mention it here. That intro was incredible. That was actually our first time seeing it. We all recorded our own parts. We gave our own fun facts. I don't like the little bit of an edit job that was done on mine. So shout out Conflict, both a positive and a negative out there. But we've got our now... And I mean this purely by CMV, our heavier co-hosts now. Kingsman Gas, more achy backs for your teammates to carry.
Yeah, I can't tell if that was a weight joke in there. We've had a weight joke and a
No,
carry joke. We haven't even started going into the stats. I know, I'm messing. We haven't even got into week one stats yet, and we're throwing in the carry jokes. This is going to be a long season, but yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. RScast is back. You all love it, and yeah, here we are, ready to give our opinions that you'll definitely all disagree with. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say agree with. I thought we were going to start sarcastically. But you know, it is what it is. Hey, you got to let them know early as far as the Kingsman getting carried jokes go. All right, listen, we got to start from early. Look, as you can tell, this whole system that we've got going on this podcast has had a little bit of a glow up over the off season. We've got a couple of new things coming your way. Certainly that intro again, credit to Conflict for sure, because that was pretty cool. Pegasus, you mentioned that you weren't too pleased with your particular edit, but I want to know who the artist was. I want to know who dropped that beat, because that was sick.
That was incredible. I've seen a few anthems, let's just say, in the last few months. I do want to take that special moment to actually shout out SCR Esports. I don't know if any of you guys have checked out a lot of our organization's TikTok. They've actually got their very own theme song. So I feel like that's something that we've got to promote for all the organizations and every individual to be doing for this season.
Yeah, you must have a song by the end of the season, otherwise you're not allowed to get into the postseason. That's got to be the rule, hasn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. We'll take that one to the higher ups. I'm sure it'll get approved. Kingsman, new RS cast, new look, new day, but we're still happy to be here, right?
Oh, of course, we love it. We love RSC. We love the community, and we love RScast. It wouldn't be the same without the two lovely people sat on my left. So yeah, new graphics, new everything, but you're stuck with us three still. As much as you love or hate us, or mainly hate me, love the other two. But yeah, we're back as normal, but things looking a little bit better.
Listen, everyone comes for the guy at the top, Kingsman. That's all I'm gonna say, bro. Don't let it bother you. You know, water off a duck's back. Anyway, we've got to get on with our job for tonight because it already takes ages and we've already done some self-indulgence. So it's time to move forwards with what we're talking about. We've got our weekly recap to go over. Now, of course, this first week is cross-conference week, which means everyone is playing someone who they probably won't play for the rest of the season until playoffs, which is really exciting. B, it's a pain in the arse for RSCast. All right? It's annoying.
Amen,
But we're gonna-
brother. Amen.
But we're going to do it anyway.
Amen.
Let's move on. Let's take a look at what happened during week 1 of the Academy. And to start with, let's talk about let's talk about the cross-conference matches, and I believe Kingsman Gas is going to take us through those.
Yes, I will. And you don't get the spoiler of which one of me and Pegasus have got Glacies and Ignis until later on. But cross-conference introduced this season. For those of you that are OG and RSC, know you play one team from the other conference, and that is the only time you'll play them until you see them again in playoffs. But this week in Academy, it looks to be Glacies who are coming out the better. Husky, I'm not even going to try and say that name. Husky got a 3-1 win onto Neat. Origin, a 3-1 win onto Riffle. Purpose, then the first Glacies team to get a win alongside Anubis with two sweeps in favour of Glacies. Now, I'll be honest, if I had more time, I would have added up the scores to compare which tier is better and make early season allegations as to which league table is harder. But I won't yet. That will be in week 2 where I make my prediction on those. But only one draw came out in the cross conferences, and that was between Calidus and Unito. So both conferences seeing their fair share of wins. So it might be pretty equal so far.
Yeah, it might be. We will see a little bit later when we look at the standings currently for week 1. But Pegasus, you can talk us through all the results from week 1 from the in-conference matches.
Yeah, absolutely. For Glacies, there was a lot of in-house action, plenty of sweeps, starting off with Riffle taking down Livens and... Oh my goodness, the neat esports names. We're going to go for Turtanai for neat esports, managing to sweep out SCR Ascendants. What do you think about that, Ryan? You had a little
I'm
bit
on board.
of a...
Yeah,
You're on board?
I
Okay.
think that's about as good as we're going to get.
Later, as I do every single season. But a result I really want to look at here is actually Anubis' sweep versus Rain, because it's not like it was a double loss week for Rain. They did manage to pick themselves up that 3-1 win against Shell, but for the side of Gadalians, that's an actual perfect 8-0 week for them. So they will be completely shutting out Glacies in Academy. But moving over to Ignis, a lot more even all round. Not a single sweep to see. Instead, we've actually got ourselves 3 draws. Ascent versus... Gonna go for Tioms here for Bro, being that first drawn result. And we've got another draw between Dexterity and Brave. That's Calidus versus Arconics. And then... Xingzhuang drawing Haze for that final result right at the bottom. But of course, do not want to ignore that we got to see an equal week for both Trickery and Shell, despite that win and loss record. And of course, Nexus picking up that victory versus Husky.
Yeah, for sure. And as per usual with our RSCast, as new names and faces come up against us, we will take a little while to get our pronunciations correct, and sometimes even our understanding of the actual logos that we have in front of us. But fear not, we will do our best as we move on. Speaking of moving on, let's take a look at the current standings in the Glacies Conference after the first week on the board. And once again, this is going to be Pegasus taking us through Glacies.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a little bit of a switch up. Now, I do the first results that come out on screen. It does start off like I expected, that 100% win rate at the top for Anubis. But what I find most fascinating is there isn't a single team that has gone winless yet. Sometimes we have a few weeks where there's that one team sitting at the bottom, especially in the Academy tier. Not this time. So perhaps signs that this one is going to look a little bit more competitive. But as well, do take these standings with a bit of grain of salt. There has been, of course, cross-conference. But we got Drengir 2 points behind with 6, and then a bunch in 5. That's Purpose, Tutanai, Unito, and Riffle. And then that immediately drops us outside of that play-ins rate with Livens, Rain, and Kyoto on 3, 3, and 2 respectively. And as mentioned before, SCR able to pick themselves up their one and only victory of the week, and I believe that actually happened in their cross-conference matchup, so still yet to take some blood away from their own conference. And as far as names go, I definitely have the struggles with Neat Esports. We'll see how much fun my good friend Kingsman will have with Unitox and Bro on the other side.
Oh, yes. A couple of SSA representatives rocking in RSC-EU. It's a pleasure to have them. And as always, just before we do move on, please remember that the top 2 teams go directly into playoffs. The 4 below them will go into play-ins come the end of the season. And yeah, I am bringing that up right now. It's irrelevant until we get to about week 7 or 8, but it's important to remember. As we move forwards then into the Ignis Conference, and let's take a look at what is going on with that side. I'm pretty sure I'm right, Kingsman, but I you know what, I could be wrong. As Kingsman, week 1, take us through Ignis.
See, I don't know enough to correct you on the spot. I would, but I don't know. But okay, all I'm going to say is something doesn't add up here. Because a team seemingly has played 12 out of 8 games and has got 9 wins on the board out of 8. I'm joking, of course. Some of the week 2 games have been uploaded, with RSCast now being on a Tuesday. Games that happen on a Monday and obviously earlier than the show on a Tuesday might be uploaded and interference. But as we stand today, it is Bro sitting at the top table. I refute. This is for any franchise that wants to apply now or in the future. You have a difficult name that I will struggle with. I will not be saying it. We will get a clear understanding now. I will not be even attempting to say it. I will say your franchise name. That is as it goes. So, Bro Community tops the table with 9 out of 12 wins. Same win percentage as Origin, but obviously with a game in hand. 75% win rate. A very good start for them. Then we have a very, very heavy 3rd to 10th split by only 2 game wins. It's Trickery, Husk, Calidus, and Shell. All on 4 wins from 3rd down to 6th, going just neutral this week. Then just below them is Ascent, Arconix, and Unitox on 3, 3, and 2. Obviously, they've all only played 8 series. And then Hayes, 2 out of 12. A very rough start to the season for them. Being 5 weeks, it does give you very, very little time to come back. Obviously, you only play each team once now this season with a cross-conference thrown in, which has already been done. But still a long way to go. We're not even at the halfway point.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kingsman. And we've been going for all of about 10 minutes, and I already have to make an apology for a mistake that I made just a moment ago. In fact, it was 2 as we talk through things. It's a 5-week season, not a 10-week season on this, or a 9-week season as normal on this occasion, which means, yeah, as you rightly say, we will be having a much shorter season, but that means playoffs are just around the corner. Speaking of play-ins and playoffs, it's the top 3 that guarantee themselves play-ins, play-offs, for God's sake. But whoever is top will guarantee themselves uppers in playoffs. 2nd and 3rd will play a game to secure uppers or lowers, and then 4th, 5th, 6th will play in play-ins in order to get to playoffs after that. Everyone following? Good. Let's move on. The fixtures for this coming week then, as we take a look at a regular week in RSC Academy moving into week 2. Pegasus, take us through the Glacies fixtures.
Well, to start us off, we do have Purpose versus Livens, which I believe should be happening today. So maybe, if we're lucky and it happened early enough, someone can update us in chat for any of those results. But there is plenty being played tomorrow. It includes, I believe that's both a double game day for Kyoto and Riffle. Kyoto playing Riffle, and also Livens getting all their games done early. They'll also go on to play Godalian's Anubis later in that day. And we've also got Neat Esports versus Mistaken, also similarly like Livens, just getting their games done as early as possible. And that actually isn't the only double game day that's happening this week. Looking a little bit further down the list, we have actually got Deathcloud's Rain playing against both Drengir and Ascendance this week, with it then eventually being rounded off by Yanito and Anubis. And I missed one, so I'll give it a mention. Drengir versus Turtanai, also happening on the 6th.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we are just going to call them Tour again in protest, to be honest.
Oh no!
As we move on over to the other side, Ignis Conference, Kingsman, continue your protest on this side.
Yeah, and obviously we've seen the Bro versus Hayes result already. That was in fact a 4-0 sweep for Bro, so a very good start to week 2 for them. Husky versus Unitox, we are yet to see the result of, but that was a 5th place versus 9th, and Husky will be looking to put the pressure on the top of the table. So I'm sure someone in chat could tell us how that went down. But for the games that actually need to be played, there are some pretty interesting games here. A very big game day on the 6th with Origin in a double match game. Obviously, top of the table at the minute. They play Trickery in 3rd, and they also play Shell in 6th. 2 of those teams that went neutral this week. So good opposition for them to come against. Not saying their week 1 opposition wasn't good, but it's a real test of how you do against teams in your own conference this week. Also looking at it, Bro, who will be looking to keep their lead at the top of the table. They play Arconics, who are yet to find a series win. I know it's only been 2 games, but finding that first series win can be difficult, and some teams might not find one all season due to the shorter format. But there's still lots of opportunity, and if Unitox's result didn't go well, their game tomorrow will be against Trickery. So Trickery will be looking to put pressure on Bro at the top of the table. And Pegasus, I can tell you that Purpose Living's game hasn't happened yet. It's at 9 p.m. Apparently that's perks of being an AGM.
Always. There are certainly perks of being an AGM, there's no doubt about it. As we look forwards then, that is Academy's week 1 wrapped up, and looking ahead to week 2. Let's take a look at prospects then, as we move slightly up the table, and once again we've got cross-conference and in-conference. So now I'm trying to remember the order in which it happens. Pegasus is doing Glacies, that goes first, so we need to go to him first right now. In-conference games with Pegasus for prospect.
We're switching up, Rhino. We had an agreement. I don't
before
care. This stream started.
The flow works better this way.
I'm not listening to this guy. Take it away.
Wow. This is mutiny on the RSCast, all right?
We're going against the host. We're protesting. We're ignoring the host now.
Wow.
we are the hosts now. Anyway, right.
I guess. You don't need me. I'm leaving. See ya.
Nope. Yep, bye. Anyway, cross-conference, ladies and gentlemen. We saw a lot more draws in the prospect tier featuring Dexterity, and obviously Unitox with Snap, Keanu, Core, and Yokai, all featuring in draws this week with a lot more sweeps, mainly coming down for the Glacies side, with Thunder and Tide taking 4 rows respectively, and Fenrir getting the only sweep in the Ignis Conference. So it's a very, very strong week for them. But overall, again, very mixed results. 3-1s everywhere, but I think it is Ignis looking potentially the stronger after this week. But again, I haven't tallied it up, and it's the one time I get a chance to, but you could cry about it in chat if you don't want to.
Fair. Absolutely fair. Right, I guess, Pegasus, you'll take the throw this time. What's been happening with the in-conference?
Thank you very much. Well, there are still a few more draws to be added to the tally, namely between Keanu and Yokai, who I believe actually end both of their weeks perfectly equal. Devotion and Magus also picking up draws for themselves. Spark and Core on the other side, and Ignis picking up a similar result. And I've had a look at all of these results, and whilst there have been a few teams that have gone positive as a result of all those drawn results and then picking up a win elsewhere, I believe there is only one team that actually went double win this week. If we look at this specific series separately, of course, that's not how we rate teams on the table, but it's always a nice thing to look at here. And that is Thunder for Death Cloud, a 3-1 win versus Godalian's Boulder, and also a 4-0 result against Embark in their cross-conference matchup. So they will be going 7-1 this week. We've also had a few teams that I would say were somewhat biting on granite after their cross-conference matchup. Embark, like I said, getting swept by Thunder. However, managing to sweep Obscurity themselves to try and turn over that result they had before. And it's the same with, I want to say, Chinas for Bro there, who face a 4-0 defeat to Tide in their cross-conference, but managed to get themselves 3 points back against Dexterity within their own conference.
Thank you very much, Pegasus, for those updates from week 1, and we can see what that has done to the early stages of the tables as we move into the Glacies to start things off. And Pegasus has just spoken, but he's going to speak again because apparently no one cares about the run of show or how the show feels and runs. So, Pegasus, just talk again. Carry on.
I will. Thank you very much. And just like before, of course, there have been some week 3 results that have slipped their way through the cracks here. Thunder, I believe I said on the screen before that they went 7-1 last week. So with that third result, they've actually picked up another 3-1 victory in their favour. So they are off to a flying start this season with 10 wins to their name. Iskari sitting behind with 7 with the same amount of games played, which gives a chance now for Vortex sitting in third with that entire series in hand to catch up if they can get themselves, at minimum, a winning result in one of their 2 matchups. SCR Impact, they have already played a series as well. They now sit on 6 game wins, looking to be caught up by the likes of Keanu and Yokai with a very similar circumstance. 1 draw and they're equal, 1 win and they skip ahead. Devotion, however, easily on the worst spot out of all of these teams. Only 4 points with that extra game played. Gadalians, Umagus, and Nenettle will be looking to climb their way over with all 3 points respectively. And again, not a single team on 0.
No, not at all. And that's what we like to see at the start of the season, is teams actually getting some wins across the line, getting some games on the board for sure as we move forwards now, looking into Ignis. Is the same to be said over on the Fiery Conference? We will find out with Kingsman Gas in just a moment, and things are starting to move. So, Kingsman, take it away. What's happening in Ignis?
I'm not reading this because you told me to, by the way. I do this because this is the run of the show. But at the end of the day, Match Admin Committee doesn't listen to what we want either, Rhino. They process results before, but they process results before RSCast. So, anyway, right. And they confuse me because Snap, who have gone unbeaten yet, sit at the top on 9 wins. Great first week for them. And then Fenrir on 7, who have picked up a win, draw, and a loss, who definitely would be below, I imagine, Spark on Tomfoolery on a regular week. They sit 7 out of 12. Then you got Spark on Tomfoolery, 5 out of 8. Very good starts for both of them. 63% win rate is a good start. Then you got Bro and Dexterity, who are on 6 and 5, who after 12 isn't the greatest, but there's still recovery room, especially with Embark and Core, and even lower scores below both of them. And if you're Obscurity and Ankoli with 2CC and 3, you have a series in hand. A sweep for either of those could put them up as... Oh, and also it's very wrong because a team with... I've just realised this. A team with 6 wins is sat in 5th, with a team in 3rd on 5 that's sat on... So, I mean...
it's not win percentage, is it? How has that happened?
We're just not following the rules here. We're just full balling it, I guess. We're just full out. No cares in the world. It should be done on series wins, but that's not my problem. Anyway, getting to the bottom. Obscurity and Ankoli 2C, 3 out of 8 and 2 out of 8 respectively. Ankoli with 2C picked up a draw and got swept. However, long way to go for both of these teams, and they have a game in hand, so they know what they need to do to move themselves up the league table.
There you go. Only a 5-week season, of course, does mean that you need to start getting yourselves up the table pretty quickly. Already 12 played as well for some of these teams. Feels really strange that I'm already talking about how quickly the season flies, but think about it, already over 20% of your games have gone, some 25. So we'll see if that continues and if the Ignis Conference moves a lot in the next week, and how exactly will it be moving? Let's take a look at the fixtures, but we're not going to look on Ignis first. We are going to, of course, go to Glacies. Pegasus, talk us through the fixtures on the Glacies side for Prospect.
Well, of course, we've had some games already gone, which is going to become a reoccurring theme with RSCast now moved to Tuesdays. Keanu have already played Tide, and Pact have already played Scary, and Devotion have already played Thunder. in front of a team that have managed to hold themselves to a very impressive record with Tide not too far away from them, looking to get themselves into that top 3 spot. So it is going to be a big finish this week when they end up playing against each other. However, there is also a little bit of focus on the other side of the bracket at the likes of Devotion, who, unfortunately, even with that series in hand, sit pretty deep down on the bracket right now. They're going to have to play against Iscari a little bit later in the week, a team which is already performing extremely well. So it's going to be a little bit of a stressful time for them. You Magis have a very stressful middle of the week with two game days in a row, playing both Nenettle and Impact. Yokai will go on to play Baldur, which is going to be a very interesting matchup. We've also got Nenettle versus Yokai, so they're also going to be having those 2 games in a row. And as will Baldur playing against Keanu. There seems to be a big strategy here for a lot of these teams, Rhino, that if you want to get your games out of the way, you just do 2 off the trots.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. A lot of teams actually just doing 2 game days, and why not? As we look across the side to Ignis, and we mentioned, will there be a lot of movement, Kingsman? What are the games to look out for if there is going to be?
Well, I mentioned about those sides near the top of the table, and one at the end of the week I'd be looking towards is Fenrir Tomfoolery. Obviously, Fenrir already got that draw on the board with Occultus. That's the only difficult name I'm trying. I've been trying it seemingly all night, and it's just come out that time. But so, a all-right result for Fenrir there, but they want to push on with another win against High Flyers Tomfoolery. Obviously, found a 4-0 and a 1-3 in the first week, so they'll be looking to find some consistency. And they also play, I want to say Chinas, but I know it's already not pronounced Chinas. So I'm just going to call it Bro. It's Bro, who have also played another series and above them, with wins on the board. This is the thing. You know what you need to do as a team below a team that has more games played, but you still have to get those series wins. It's so much easier said than done. But apart from that, one at the bottom of the table I mentioned, 2 teams needing good results to go their way is Obscurity and Koli Watusi. And well, they play each other on Thursday, and well, whoever wins that will be looking to push themselves up the table with Ankoli Watusi playing Embark respectively, and then Obscurity go into core. So don't be surprised if you see an Obscurity double win week. Just saying, that's my prediction put on the board.
There you go. He said he wasn't making a prediction until week 2, and then bang! Prospect fixtures makes a prediction. Love that. As we start to look ahead. So those are your week 2 fixtures for Prospect. Thank you both for taking us through those. And we start to move once again up that ladder, up to Challenger now, as we look at all of the action from week 1. And fine, we will do it your way. Kingsman Gas, talk us through the cross-conference games.
Do it your way. More like the agreed way. Am I right? But anyways, not to go on to this. It looks a pretty Ignis-dominated cross-conference up the top here. No 4-0s, but lots of 3-1s in result towards Ignis. I think that's 5 in total, with 2 going against them and 3 draws. So Ignis looking the better conference already in the Challenger tier, with, I think, there's not really a standout result because there's no sweeps, but a lot of 3-1s, and I don't know Challenger well enough to say that there were any shocks. So apologies, but a very good week for Ignis teams in general, compared to Glacies, who the Glacies table might look a little bit short now, shall we say, for top of the table.
Yeah, we'll find out a little bit later on as we look at the individual Ignis and Glacies standings. But for now, Sir Pegasus, talk us through the in-conference games, please.
That's all. I never thought about that, Kingsman. That's actually true. The cross-conference games really do shift the balance of these tables a little bit when it comes to those total wins. So I am actually very interested to see how those will unfold. But starts off with an on-stream matchup. It was me and my team, Shivas, taking on Swirl. It was an unfortunate defeat versus Vortic, but they are a very, very strong roster. We also have Canaans getting a sweeping result versus SCR. Canaans recovering off the back of actually a loss during the cross-conference, so that does put themselves on a positive record. A team which you don't really have to do too many maths to realise they're positive is Neats Trabe, who went 3-1 in both of their results this week. Dynasty, unfortunately, with 2 losses in this opening week. Atmos got themselves a drawing result against Chamali, which does put Chamali on a negative and Atmos on a positive. Rolls also went down to take on Seiko. And on the Ignis side, we had a draw between Aspire and Bro, and I believe it's MPB and Shadow, which I believe stands for Mushy Pea Brains, I believe. That's one of our new organizations that has been added to RSC, and I really like it. Like the logo, like the name, like the management as well. Ember have got themselves a double win this week. They give themselves 2 3-1 results after putting poor SCR on a double loss as well. Qantas, unfortunately, despite all of that hard work in the cross-conference, do end up with a completely even week. Pulse had a completely even matchup versus Mischief. They'll have an even week as well with the 2 draws that they managed to pick up. And finally, unfortunately for Unitox's Fujiyoshi, it is a sweep for Chrome Amarok. And I do just want to check the result they had in the cross-conference. That was a draw, so it's a wonderful 6-2 for them.
Yeah, there you go. An interesting week, certainly, for a few people in their own conference. So let's now take a look and see what that did to the standings for week 1, who are the front runners in the early games and who are falling behind. Sir Pegasus with Glacies, top of the table, has 6 wins.
Yeah, indeed. It's very, very low for a first week, but like you said, Ignis taking a lot of games away from Glacies in this opener. Still, though, everyone picking up points. I am still on that bottom of the table win watch. This time it is mistaken. We're only able to pick up 2 in this opener. We've also got a wonderful league bracket here that only includes week 1 results. It starts off with Triab at the top with those 6 wins, followed by Atmos, Canaans, and Swell from 2nd to 4th. Thralls just closed the gap there between Vortic and Gadalians with those 4 wins in their names. Shivas, Kaizen, and Chamali take on those 3-point spot, and actually Seiko as well. So overall, with all those matches taking away from Ignis, this is a relatively tight table at the end of the first week.
Yeah, it is. 4 wins separating top and bottom, which as far as game wins goes, you could get that back in 1 series. So interesting start to Challenger on the Glacies side. Let's take a look at the Ignis conference now as we look ahead to what could potentially happen in week 2. The fixtures are just after this, but to get an idea of where teams are currently in the standings would be ideal.
Miles,
nothing.
I think he's gone for a nap.
Has he settled
no,
down? There we go. And
There
we're
we
moving.
go.
Kingsman Gas, you've got things to talk about. Here we go. Ignis conference for week 1.
Oh, it's gonna be it's only week 1. Oh my goodness, I never thought I'd find happiness in just week 1 standings. But here we are, and it's Amarok taking the top spot of the table. Obviously, no sweeps coming out this week, so it was them having to go double 3-1, and it was a great start for them. They lead by the top from 1 game, and then there's 2 games splitting first through 8. It's really competitive already. Then on 5-game wins, you've got Rise, Mischief, and Eclipse. Mischief and Eclipse actually only separated by goals scored. So, at a very early tiebreaker, that means nothing, but I just find it very fascinating. Then, on 4-game wins, respectively, you have Ember, Qantas, Pulse, and Snow. Ember, the only team with a positive goal difference there, and maybe they're not split by goals scored because Snow are below Pulse. Or maybe that Stingray just wants to see his teams above Mushy Pea Brains. I'm not calling any bias, but that might just be how it goes. But yeah, all on 4-game wins, all still neutral. So still a good week for those teams. But this is what I mean by that. See that there's 4 wins and then 3 wins on Bro. And then down below, already 3 game wins off of playoffs. I know that doesn't seem like much. But at this point in the season, that is a huge margin. Considering there's only, 8 series left? I mean, it's pull-backable, but you don't want to be falling that far behind. It is Fujiyoshi at the bottom of the table.
Certainly, yeah. And that is something to talk about. we're so used to RSC seasons being that longer format. You know, you're waiting until later weeks to really get an idea of where teams are sitting. In this new 5-week setting, it really feels like every game, every series matters more than maybe it ever has done before. You want to be able to try and get those games back as soon as possible. And how will you do that? Well, you'll play some games, of course. Let's take a look at week 2 fixtures, moving on to what is going to happen in the coming week. And we will start, as we always do, or we have done over the last 2 times, with Glacies this time and Pegasus.
It is scary when you put it into context, Kinsman, that there is only 8 series left of the league play season. This 5-week format is absolutely brutal. So, of course, you want to pick up some results. And beside of Glacies, there are 2 teams I'm looking at particularly for that. It's the 2 at the bottom. It is ssei-eu and Dynasty, who have a chance to leapfrog some very, very high up teams. For example, Team Serene play top of the table Trib, with Trib currently on 6 game wins and ssei-eu on 3. If they were able to get themselves a sweeping result, they actually completely leapfrog their way to the top of the table and would just have to hold the fort with a few extra results going their way. They'll also be playing against Shivas, my team, in about, let me check, 10 minutes. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to give you a score update on that a little bit later in the day, but who knows as well. I'm looking at Mistaken Dynasty, who are going to be playing Swirls, who are on 5 game wins, as are Canaans and Atmos. That's rounding up your 2nd to 4th position. If they somehow get a sweeping result tomorrow, that also has them flying their way up the table. They'll also like to pick up that 2nd results they have this week versus, well, us a little bit later on Godalian's Shivas. But some more matches that are being played today is Atmos versus Frowls and Kaizen versus Jamali. And there's a little bit of a break where we then have Canaans versus Jamali, Trabe versus ssei-eu, which is a top of the table versus a near bottom of the table matchup. And then rounding up, we do have Swirls versus Kaizen and Canaans versus Frowls to get the week ended. But honestly, it's really hard to pick a standout match in these opening weeks, and I believe that's going to really remain the same this season, Kingsman, with how quick it is.
I mean, you asked Kingsman a question, and based on how tonight's gone, I just assumed he was going to respond. But he now gets the chance to respond. As Ignis coming up this week, let us know what's happening over there for Challenger.
Yes, come on, Rhino. We said we like to keep the flow.
Yeah,
that's the main thing.
Right.
We don't disrupt the flow tonight, but that is all right. But yeah, every game at this point is going to be close, especially after week 1. You can never really call a team front running after week 1 because there's never normally a big enough gap to say that. Maybe after week 2, but not week 1. And I was waiting to see how many tiers it would take me to say that every game is a game to look out for at this point. It's taken me till Challenger. I think that's pretty good going.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
But yeah, others might disagree. So, looking at the Ignis Conference, there is a game that I've got my eye on, and it is Rise versus Eclipse. Both on 5 game wins with a win and a draw in their first week. One of those teams is going to have to break it, apart from if they get a draw, because one of them will need to chase Amarok, who, based on the table, have a pretty nice week ahead of them. They have Qantas in 7th, and they have Bro in 9th. So, but again, this is all on paper. We know, a bit like football, that if any team can beat any team on any given day, it doesn't matter. And especially with subs playing a higher percentage this season of matches compared to last season. They might play 1 less series, but they play a higher percentage. So it forces teams to mix up rosters a bit more. It makes the unpredictability a lot higher, which is good to see. So you don't know. You might see some teams lower down the order beating teams from the higher order, but you only find out which team's the best at playoffs, which is a long, long, long way away. And then the other game to have my eye on was Rise's other game against Ember. Ember, the only team that went 4-4 with a positive goal difference. They can find the back of the net, but they also know how to let them in, and they need to keep it together against Rise.
They certainly do. A action-packed week here in Challenger for sure. Make sure you keep an eye on all socials for all teams to check when they are playing and when you can watch some RSC action. We are officially over halfway through the weekly recap then. Let's move on to our next tier, which is going to be Rival. With the cross-conference games once again, here's Kingsman Gas.
Oh, yeah, all me again. But yes, and this one looks to be more dominated by Glacies, with 3 sweeps all coming from Glacies teams, and only 2 series wins being picked up by Ignis teams with Unitox and Raiju respectively. So big weeks for them if they've managed. Well, I looked at Raiju and Ignis; they got swept then by a Marvel. I'm not gonna spoil the Unitox result because that's Pegasus's job. But a very strong week for Glacies teams. You might see a lot of high up results, especially with Shinjiru, Tizok, and Phoenix all finding sweeps against their rival counterparts. And then 2 draws featuring Aptus, Neat, and Marvel and Vortex. So those teams that haven't swept in Glacies might find themselves on the back foot.
We will find out whether that is the case as we move on, because I see some sweeps in Glacies actually. So Pegasus, talk us through all the in-conference games.
Certainly, and I'll bring up those sweeps first. It started off with Calico versus Vortex. A huge sweep to start off their campaign. That one will put them on a positive record despite their loss in a cross-conference matchup versus Unitox. There was also Neat Scap taking down Riptide in a sweeping result, which unfortunately is going to mark a double loss for the Vortex roster. And as for Neat, they'll go positive with their draw alongside Dexterity in the cross-conference. But as per usual, there is a little draw snuck in there as well. It was Shinjiru versus Carl's to equal off, and I believe neither one of those teams actually drew in the upper side. Carl's go positive. Shinjiru, strangely enough, also go positive after this draw with those cross-conference matchups. But I know that Kingsman, he was salivating at the thought of Unitox's second result. He finally gets to take a bite. Giannina picked themselves up another 3-1 result, this time against Illusory Mirage. It's a double win for them. It's a double loss, unfortunately, for the side of Illusory. But there are more sweeps to look at, ladies and gentlemen. Marvel, Mushy P-Brains taking down Chrome Esports' Raiju in a 4-0 result, which marks a fantastic week for Marvel, who also drew Vortex in those cross-conferences. And as for Raiju, unfortunately, this somewhat ruins their week after a 3-1 versus Vortex in that cross matchup as well. We also had Nexus sweeping down Flame, which I believe, ladies and gentlemen, we have finally reached a point where we do see our first 0-8 team.
Not like this.
The first week. That is brutal. A sweeping loss to Shinjiru and a sweeping loss to this Nexus team as well, who actually saved their first week with that result after losing to the double winning Identity Mistaken. Focus and Nightfall also managed to pick themselves up some 3-1 results. Those were against Aptus and Cuzzies, respectfully.
It took us 3 tiers, and in the 4th, we finally got someone that sadly went 0-8 in week 1, and we can see what that has done to the standings, although we won't see it on the first check because we are going to Glacies to kick things off. Pegasus, you are going to keep a hold of the microphone and talk us through all the moves and shakers from week 1 in Glacies.
Well, it's very high points overall, actually, for Glacies out of this first week, which does give us a hint as to how all of those cross-conference matches went. Riptide managing to pick themselves up that 1 win, so they don't have that similar fate as a particular Ignis team, as you'll see later. Vortex stand slightly ahead of them with 2 wins themselves. I believe that was off the back of a draw. Floki for Gadalians have 4 wins, and then this is where we get to the real heavy hitters. We're past the neutral point of this first week. It is Tizok with 5, Calico with 5, Carl's with 5, second to 4, Scap, Identity, and Shinjiro all on 6. And finally, SCR Phoenix topping the table with 7. That is an explosive start to the season from Glacies.
It sure is. And I don't know how many times I'm going to get to say this during this season, so I'm going to say it now. Vortex and Vortic at the bottom of the table there for Glacies. We'll see if that does continue moving into week 2. So the Glacies conference, very high scoring. Based on the fact that we've had cross-conference games, you think maybe that might lead to Ignis being a little lower scoring. Let's move across and check on a few of those win percentages over on the warmer side of the rival conference and rival tier, I should say. And for the Ignis conference, let's go to Kingsman Gas. Shut up.
Ooh, fake first play. No, not you. Whoa, not you. I see 12 games played. Boo.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we can all boo with that. Yeah, that's fair enough.
We're friends here. We're friends here.
Yeah, exactly.
We're friends.
But imagine picking up five game wins in week 1, and you're not even in play-ins. I would not be happy if that was the case. I cannot lie. But anyway, sorry. Enough of me yapping. I need to get on with this. It is Unitox top of the table with an extra game played, 8 game wins for them. However, teams that haven't reported it too early, it is Marvel top with 6 wins. Then it is Thread on 5. Then following them is Aptus, Raiju, and Focus, with Thread having a game in hand. It is a very good scenario for them to be in. And then it's Nightfall on 3 out of 5. Cuzzies. Surely that's not as easy as it sounds. Cuzzies.
I think it is.
I think it is. I mean, they're giving me some really nice ones and some really bad ones.
Do it in a South African accent.
No, let's not.
That's a good decision. That's a good decision.
Let's not get me cancelled week 1. Let's not. Right. Then we have Mirage on 2 out of 8. And the first 0-8 team, Flame, already 5 game wins off of play-ins. Dare I say that looks a mountain to climb.
Yeah, as you say, already on 0 wins, unfortunately, after week 1. That is not going to leave Brave in the best position. We'll see how they go forwards as we look ahead to week 2. Maybe they may be able to pick up a game or 2 in the second week of RSC 17. But first, we need to find out what's happening over in the Glacies Conference. 1 game tonight, Pegasus. Should we look out for it?
Absolutely. I mean, there is not a single game I think you want to miss from rival Glacies. It is all so close. Everyone performed very strong in the cross-conference matchup. So, absolutely, you will be wanting to look out for Azteca versus Team Serene, Tizok versus Shinjiru. It's another bit of a trend here where we've got teams playing 2 days in a row. Tizok playing against Identity Mistaken in that next day. And Shinjiru playing Floki Gadalians is well tomorrow. But it looks a little bit early-handed here with a lot of these matchups. We do have a Vortex versus Vortic matchup that I know Rhino is extremely excited for. I wish we could get that one on stream. But that is going to be a battle at the bottom of the table, which is always one of my favourite matchups personally to look towards. We've also got DSQ Calico taking down Carls potentially, but they will be fighting back the very next day against Neat Esports' Scath. We then have Vortex versus Phoenix. Believe it or not, SCR will also be playing the day afterwards. Calico will be taking down Riptide. One team that is giving themselves a little bit of a break between matchups. Phoenix will play Identity and Scaff will round off the week. The final game with Scaff versus Floki.
There you go. Glacies lineup for the week. Get excited. Meanwhile, over on the Ignis side, Kingsman, a couple of games have already happened. We know that from taking a look at the table. But what else is happening this week to look forward to?
Well, I picked out Marvel at top of the table, and they have Flame in a really, really nice start to them to week 2. They also have Mirage, so they have the bottom 2 sides. Just a real chance to make their mark at the top of the table. Obviously, getting that 4-0 sweep and a draw. It's a real chance for them now to push forward and make their name at the top. Flame's other game being against Raiju, who have been average so far this season with 5 and 7 on the board. So a chance for Flame to maybe pick up their first game. We don't like seeing teams 0-8 already at this point, especially with the season being shorter. It makes their run even harder into the season. But the other game that I picked up on was Cuzzies and Mirage, 2-6. One of those teams needs a boost, and I'm sure one of them will get it.
But which one will it be? You'll have to tune in to Ignis this week to find out. That is everything for the rival tier. So let's now move up into Elites. Let's take a look at how week 1 went over in the Elite side. And of course, we've still got those cross-conference matches to talk about. Kingsman, how did they go?
Well, it was a very good week for both sides, really. There was a mix of results, as Deception and Frecky got the only sweeps, and they were both for the Ignis Conference. However, it seems to be Glacies who picked up more of the 3-1s. No draws in the Elite Conference. It's absolutely brutal at this stage, and you can't blame them. But it looks to be Glacies picking up more wins, but Ignis teams being decisive. So don't be surprised to see Frecky and Deception really far forward in their respective conferences. But every team picking up a game at least from their cross-conference, but Glacies looks to have come off stronger.
Yeah, we will see in the standings whether that is the case, as Pegasus take us through the in-conference matchups. I only see one sweep happening. I like to see that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very, very close overall, and usually I'm given the conference of the season that ends up having all the draws, but it feels like that might not be the case this time. But I am going to start off at Glacies. I'm going to start with who has been the heavy hitters during the cross-conference stage. We start off with a 3-1 victory for SCR, which does, again, help even out that sweeping loss they got against Illusory Deception. Giles picked up their own 3-1 against Cataract, which I believe puts themselves on a double win week, and unfortunately evens out what was a great start for is it Vortex Cataract team? It's Vortex,
yep.
Not Vortex, correction.
Vortex,
yes.
yeah.
New orgs, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get used to it. It's only a 5-week season. Akami got a draw versus Legacy. This is Mistaken versus Team Serena. I'm testing myself a little bit with these, which marks a positive week for Okami, and unfortunately a negative for Mistaken, who faced one of the very few losses for a Glacy side in an Ignis matchup, and that was actually a sweep. When they did win, they won pretty darn hard in that stage. Nefeli got themselves a 3-1 result. This time it was against Atlakoya. Now the Ignis is where it gets interesting. 3 draws, 1 sweep, and only 1 3-1 result. This is fascinating. A draw between Goonie and Link, Freaking Darkness, Celeritas as dubbed on these streams, Celery Sticks versus Summit. Then we've got Deception, who are off to an incredible start this season. It is 8-0 in that first week after taking down SCR Guardians and, of course, their very own Brave Esports Blaze, who will go double loss, but not 0-8 most importantly. Brothers also getting themselves a 3-1 win for themselves. That will even off their week after their initial loss. And for the Mushy P-Brains, that is unfortunately going to be 2 losses this week. Only 2 points to pick up, but it is definitely going to be a start.
Love to see the return of Celery Sticks. Always fun to bring them up on RSCast. But I got to ask, fans are getting tired of illusory, consistent victories. You know, it's a rough one. We'll see how that affects everything happening in the leagues themselves as we move into the Glacies Conference standings after week 1. And Pegasus, based on everything that happened with Cross Conference, top half of this table is probably going to be pretty highly rated.
Well, you'd think so, but with how many games that were actually traded between each other, what has actually ended up happening is we've had a really tight but high scoring table. There are 2 teams with 6 sitting in those top 2 spots, and then Team Serena Kami being the glue between the teams with 6 wins and the 4 teams with 4 that follow. That's Vig, Cataract, Atlakoya, and Carbo. And SCR sit there with 3. I believe they picked up those 3 wins in their cross-conference matchup. Aphrodite managing to get themselves 2 points this week. Same with Legacy. So, of course, if you total up all of those wins, it might be a little more than you expect by the end of the week 1. But they are pretty well divvied out here for what's going to be an interesting week 2 and week 3 development.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way, as no one really racing away at this point in Glacies, but unfortunately the same can't be said over on the side of Ignis, because as we've already discussed, there was an 8-0 week at the top of the table, Kingsman, and you have the joys of talking about it.
I do, and it was Deception. When will illusory dominance end? Not in the elite tier this season. It's an 8-0 week, a brilliant start for them. 2 games already ahead of Frecky in second, the only other team to pick up a win for them, and it was a great result for them there. Then 5 wins, you've got Nguni and Summit, great results for those two respectively. Then you've got Brothers on 4 wins going neutral, and then on the negative teams you've got Celery Sticks, Link and Darkness all on 3 wins, Magnolia with 2, and Blaze almost following their rival counterparts in 0 and 8, but not yet, as they picked up 1 win, which leaves them only 2 games off of the play-ins at the moment.
There you go. It's all a little bit tight towards that bottom half of the table, certainly from Celeritas all the way down to Blaze. Anything can happen, and it likely will over the next few weeks as well. Let's see how things are progressing then as we take a look at the week 2 fixtures for both of these conferences in the Elites tier. And let's start, Sir Pegasus, with Glacies.
Oh, I was praying a matchup was going to pop up, and it has done. We'll start off with a game that's already, should have already been played, but it wasn't on the sheet at least. Neat Esports played Azteca last night. If anyone has any information in chat, please be sure to tell us. But it is a double game day for top of the table Nepheli, where they play Aphrodite, one of those teams that are currently sitting with 2 game wins, and their fellow 6 wins at the top of the table team, Jarl. So it is number 1 versus, I guess you could say, number 1 again. That is going to be a fascinating result. That's another one that if anyone has the result for either one of these games, I would love to know. I did hear that first matchup was a 2-2 between Azteca and Neat Esports, which, well, the table would actually support. They were both on 4 game wins. They'll be jumping up to 6 now. But tomorrow we are going to have Guardians versus Cataract on the 5th. Cataract will play again, this time versus Carbo. Team Sereno Kami will play at Lakoya. And it's going to be 2 games in a row for Legacy as they play Fiag on the 6th and SCR Guardians on the 7th. We've also got Giles playing Carbo on that very same day. And then to round off the week, it's Team Serene versus Gadalians. It's Akami versus Aphrodite.
Lots of fun to be had on Glacies, and arguably an opportunity missed for both Neat and Azteca to be able to get away from the pack and extend up the table. Let's have a look over at Ignis then. No games happened so far this week, so that means lots to look forward to, as well as Deception trying to maintain their unbeaten run.
Yeah, and they're going to have a very tough run at it as they play Frecky, who are the team in second place. And I don't normally say that games have huge meaning at this point in the season, but this one really does. They are 2 points ahead of Frecky. A sweep again for Deception would see them start to front run and be the first team to front run, with Deception's other game being against Brothers, who not the greatest of weeks, and then Frecky's other game being against Magnolia, who I think are playing Darkness tonight. If that has already happened or is happening, keep us updated on the score in chat. But yeah, Deception are the first team really that we are talking about that could be looking to start front running. Then another game I picked up was Nguni Summit. Both teams on 5 wins respectively and want to keep their early run into the playoffs alive. And a win for either of those would certainly do the job.
Yeah, it certainly would. So that's your elite fixtures for this week 2 coming up. Some big hitters already starting to show in both conferences. Let's then swap over to our final tier that we are talking about tonight. It is, of course, the Master tier. And for all of the ongoings from last week in the cross-conference, let's go to Kingsman Gas.
Yes, and well, there were sweeps almost, well, not almost everywhere, but sweeps equally. I almost said almost everywhere. There's sweeps basically nowhere. There's only 2 sweeps, one for Virtus, one for Kazoku. I think that's right. I don't know why I've actually gone for it.
I think that sounds good.
I think that's right.
That sounds good. Wow.
There you go.
Yeah, but a lot of the good results flying towards Ignis here. A lot of 3-1s. The only wins in Glacies were found from Neat and obviously Kazuku. So a good start for Ignis, which already looks like potentially the stronger conference. It's the one I'm not in, so I do not mind saying that at all. With 4 draws across the board, I think that's one of the most we've seen so far. But apart from that, it looks to be Ignis on top.
Yeah, it does. But as far as the in-conference games go, Sir Pegasus, it's draws galore.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was looking around to see if any team could go 8-0 this week, but we did have a few that got a bit close. Zeus, unfortunately, was not one of them. That's a double draw to open up their week. Actually, same for Tempest. So that first result has been a bit of a tester for both of those rosters by the end of this first week. Then it's followed by a team that unfortunately had to fight back from a sweeping defeat that they got in the cross-conference, but were still able to pick up some points back. Maelstrom get themselves a 3-1 versus Mistaken, I believe that is. Firein get themselves 3 game wins versus Nox, who unfortunately do end up finishing their week negative as a result of that loss. Same cannot be said for Firein, because despite that Ignis domination, Firein were one of those teams clearly to look out for in the Glacies conference. Berserkers end up drawing Galaxy, which actually puts both of them on a negative result this week. That's one which they really missed out on clawing their way up of the table. Montezuma played that Kazuku team for Team Serene. That puts Team Serene on a wonderful 7-1 start. Unfortunately, just 1 game away from putting themselves on that perfect record. Montezuma are actually the sweep deniers this week with those 3-1 results going against them. But Ignis, we've got Yuki with a 4-0 result versus Abyss. Prime drawing off with Zenith, and another draw a little bit further down, Inferno and Illusion and Bean and Heck. So this is actually very similar to what we saw, I believe it was in Elite. We had 3 draws, a 4-0 and a 3-1 result. It just feels like this is what Ignis has got going at the moment. And for Bro, it is a 3-1 versus Dexterity. Virtus, despite getting that sweeping win, will still only pick out five points this week.
Yes, it will. And I have to say, I do think Bro Oaks, if casters try to say that across the entire season, is going to catch you out a little bit. That's a tricky one. I don't think we can call them Brokes until they're not in playoffs come the end of the season. That might be the only time.
That's
but
fair.
for now, they are the Oaks as we move forwards. Looking then at what that did to the standings, how do the teams match up right now going into week number 2? Let's take the Glacies conference first, as we are wont to do. And Sir Pegasus, how are things looking in Glacies?
Oh, there it is. We see some 12s on the board. Galaxy and Maelstrom clearly had 1 match, which has ruined the table for us there. I would love to check, actually, what that result was. So we're going to do a little bit of a check here. I believe Maelstrom had 3 wins. So, yeah, it's a 2-2 result. What a strange way to ruin our bracket, Kingsman. But Kazoku still sitting at the top with 7. Firein got a series in hand to try and not only increase the gap between themselves, Galaxy and Maelstrom, but of course to try and catch up to this Kazoku roster and potentially steal that top spot to jump in front of Galaxy and Maelstrom. It's going to be Tempest, Zeus, and Nox, all on 4 game wins, followed by Mistaken and Berserkers on 3, and Montezuma on 2. But goal difference stats looking very interesting to me. A lot of very, very close to 0 differences. Lots of ones, lots of -1s. Maelstrom sitting in 4th place somehow have a -10 goal difference. I'm not quite sure how that has managed to happen for them, but you do start to feel for teams like Mistaken and Nox just a -1 goal difference for them. And if the games are reflecting that and they're not just going heavy-handed either way, there were probably a few games there that ran away from them.
Yeah, you definitely start to think about that. And I was actually going to bring that up as well, because this is the fact that Maelstrom are on a -10 goal difference, but the team above them on the same number of wins, on only one more goal scored, are on a goal difference of 1. It's crazy how on earth that has worked. But hey, Maelstrom either all attack and it works, or all attack and it doesn't work by the looks of things. I love to see it. I like that that style of play for sure. Ange ball indeed. Let's take a look at the Ignis conference then. Let's switch over to the more fiery of the two conferences to see what the week 1 results have done to the positioning over here, and we're going to go to Kingsman Gas to talk us through this one. Oh, boo.
The greed of some of these teams disgusts me. they play 12 games before outrageous. Anyways, it is still Yuki, who I believe in power rankings were the admins predicted champions, and well, they're certainly living up to it. They are 5 game wins clear at the top of the table. And that's even with a series in hand, yes, but they're still top of the table regardless of what anyone else does. So they are making a name for themselves already here in the Ignis Conference. 10 out of 12 wins, great start for them. And then it's been Oaks, Virtus, and Illusion, and Zenith all on 5 wins, with Zenith actually having an extra game played, with Heck being on 4, Inferno being on 3, Prime and Abyss then being on 2 at the bottom of the table. But Heck, Inferno, and Prime all have a prime opportunity to catch up to Zenith. And, nice. Well, the rest of them, they all need to close the gap to Yuki, or they will start pulling away and just keeping going.
We'll see if anybody is able to do that as we take a look at the fixtures then for week number 2 here. Season 17 of RSC, and Glacies will be up first, which means Sir Pegasus, talk us through some of the games that are on the horizon for the Master Tier.
Well, we know that one of those matches has already been played. It was Maelstrom versus Galaxy. That was a drawn result, but Galaxy potentially right now have the opportunity to put themselves on a positive result. They'll be playing Mistaken. Berserkers also playing Montezuma at some time tonight. Oh, result?
We swept them.
Kings. Oh. Well done. Well done.
Thanks.
Congratulations. And how did you get any MVPs that match, or was that more of a?
What do you think?
You
what do you think, Pigs? We don't set the bar too high. Come on. Let's work our way up to it.
Okay. You know what? We'll check in end of week 2. Montezuma are also taking on Berserkers today, and it is going to be another 2 days on the trot for Mistaken and Montezuma. You know what, Kingsman, how are you feeling about this matchup?
Good, it's Kajir.
Crazy.
He
I am going to tactically not respond to that. Team Serene versus Godalians. It is going to be Zeus versus Kazoku. Kazoku, of course, have been the only team in this conference to be on a double win record, so they'll see if that invincible record can continue. That would require beating Zeus, and then the next day beating DSQ's Nox, one of those teams that are sitting on a neutral record at the moment, looking to try and tip those scales with a shock result against top of the table. and not so shocking result against close to the bottom of the table Berserkers. But again, it's end of week 1. All is very close, especially with all those cross-conference matchups making a lot of these tables a little bit more, a little bit less actually trustworthy than I think we'll come to see in the upcoming weeks. Tempest do play Maelstrom as well, which is going to be a little bit of a fight to get themselves into the top of the table, so definitely one to look out for. And then to round off the week with all of the games shoved on Sunday, I hope that they will have availabilities prepared as well to schedule for next week. Neat Esports double up against Zeus and Tempest.
Yep, they certainly do. Thank you very much for that, Pegasus. Lots going on in Glacies, but lots going on the Ignis side as well, Kingsman. Talk us through it.
Yeah, lots going on with obviously Yuki getting that positive result against Zenith already, and Virtus Inferno should have already been played, so I wonder how they're feeling about that, considering Virtus were the team in favour at the time with 2 game wins ahead, and Zenith versus Illusion should be happening right now, and Zenith need a positive result on the board to keep themselves positive and towards the top 3 chase. If anyone's got results like, let me know, because they are 5th and 6th as it stands. But the other games I was looking at, Yuki Oaks was one of those teams on 5 wins. If Yuki get another win, they're 3 wins on the bounce, they get another win there and push themselves further away, they will just be looking to secure top 3 at record pace here. But then the other one I picked up on was a double game week for our bottom of the table, Abyss. They play Heck in 7th and they also play Oaks in 3rd. So we'll see, are they feeling it on that game day, or will they still find themselves at the bottom of the table come the end of week 2?
That is yet to be decided. Kingsman, thank you very much for talking us through everything going on with Master Tier in week 2. We are very much looking forward to seeing some of the results that come out of every tier across RSC Season 17. But of course, you're not only playing for your own team in your own conference, you are playing for your franchise. And and that's it. And that's the point. That's the point I was making. Was that you guys are playing for your franchise as well. I'm sure we'll have franchise standings at some point over the next few weeks. Just not tonight is the only thing. But Pegasus, week 1 in the books. Only 1 team across the entire RSC on 0 wins. Makes for an... look, I'm not going to say who it was. I'm just going to say makes for an interesting season, doesn't it?
Oh, I will. Hold on. Let me try and find it. I want to remember what tier this was, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, there's a team in rival with only 1 win. That is shambolic. We need to see some more scores. But also, it's Flame. It's Brave Esports. And come on. We love a bit of Brave Esports here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure they'll be able to pick up some results a little bit later down the line. They've got a wonderful management, but the scary part this season is at the end of week 1. You don't then have the opportunity to say, oh, don't worry, lads, there's still 16 series still to go. There's still 8 weeks. You have only half as you would have done before. It is brutal. Every single week is going to be so much more impactful. And we always have those times on RSCast where it's kind of mid-season and we like to flirt around with the idea of, oh, this team's looking to get themselves in top 3, this team's looking to get themselves in top 6, and realistically, there's still a bunch of transfers that are going to happen. It doesn't really matter. It all changes so fast. That's not going to be the case this season. We are going to have to be on it from the get-go, and the teams are going to have to be as well. It is all focus for every single one of these series, which are so much more valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kingsman, you are in management this season for Mistaken, and congratulations on that as well. But from a management standpoint, with the smaller season that we've got ahead of us, how scary is it to kind of see your team coming out of week 1 with a losing record, for example?
I wouldn't say it's to worry too much. It's week 1. I know you've gone through a pre-season, but that's where you look at a combination of rosters. It will be obviously week 1 where a team sort of gel a bit, find out their strengths and weaknesses, see if any changes are needed. I think if you're 0-8 Flame, then there might be some cause for concern. But if you're going slightly negative, I say 3 or 5 or 2 and 6. I don't think there's much to worry about. So long as you can sort of gel week 2. Because what we don't know is some teams might have done 2 sub games, might have done 1 sub game this week. And with subs playing what will be 3 out of, I think, 10 series now total, that it matters a lot more because a main roster is a lot stronger in some cases than a roster with sub. So having a sub that can perform is still good because some rosters might beat others main versus main, but sub versus main, you might see some shocks. And I don't think it's ever truly over at this point until it's mathematically possible. But I think transfers will be a lot less of a threat than this season, than seasons prior gone.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Thank you for that insight, Kingsman. As we now take a look at, I reckon it's some of our favourite thing to happen on the RS cast. It's the clip and fail of the week, and it's time for you guys to get involved. There will be a poll in chat where you guys can make your voices heard on what is the clip of the week and what is the fail of the week. So pay very, very close attention to the video coming up next. These are your clips of the week.
It's that time of the week again. RSC-EU's Clip of the Week brought to you by trophi.ai. Use code RSC-EU to get 12% off Rocket League coaching for 12 months. Now, let's check out the plays.
I think we can all agree it's a pretty good week 1 for clips of the week. Pegasus, you look especially interested.
Okay, let's have a conversation about RSC.
All right, let's have a conversation.
We didn't. No, I said we didn't want to say it. We said it. The clips sucked during RSC 16 outside of week 1. The clips
outside of week 1, yeah.
Awful. Outside of week 1 and actually playoffs for some reason, some players just absolutely peaked. The clips are really bad. This is setting the standard very, very early because those were some good clips. And this is the first time where I'm genuinely struggling to pick one. We spoke a little bit ourselves about maybe the defending with Ronan and Tweaks' clips could have been a little bit better. But between Closer, Nathan G, and Silas, I'm genuinely at a standstill. I'm not even going to vote this time.
We have actually heard it's the wrong name from the poll creator. It's Cloud in that third clip rather than Closer. So okay. Thank you very much, Mel, for all of your continued work. We appreciate you. Kingsman, listen, we have given you a little bit of a bad reputation in the past for not enjoying certain clips from certain tiers in RSC. But on this occasion, Academy showed up.
Yeah, you won't. I think if there's Academy shot of the or goal of the season, that wins it by far. Unless Academy is like ready to provide the season, but they're doing corner read doubles in Academy now.
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough. But for me, I think it's a lot easier the clip of the week winner, in my opinion, than Pegasus made it out to be.
Wow,
because when is the last time you saw someone doing a post pinch in RSC? Like, can you guys remember the last time on clip of the week we saw someone scoring a post pinch? That mechanic is so rare, and the fact that it goes in and not over the crossbar or under bounces in is incredible. Like, the other shots you can hit, they're good shots, don't get me wrong. Especially Nathan G's in Academy. That was like, oh, all right, caught me off guard. But to do the mechanic that Silas did, whether it was intentional or not, is still very rare. And I think for me, should win it by a landslide. But I don't think it has. No, it's Cloud.
It's not.
It hasn't. It's Cloud.
Fair enough, though. Yeah.
Silas robbed.
Yeah, even if all three of us voted for Silas, it would still be 8-8. So the winner of your clip of the week is going to be Cloud, the only name that Mal couldn't spell. So let's take a look once again at the clip of the week, and you can see all of the clips that were submitted as well as your winner this week, Cloud.
It's that time of the week again. RSC-eu's clip of the week brought to you by trophi.ai. Use code RSC-eu to get 12% off Rocket League coaching for 12 months. Now, let's check out the plays.
Now, it has been said that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And we will see if that is the case as we move on from the best of the week to the worst. And I definitely know that this is Kingsman Gas's favorite part of the day, as we start to see everything that happened from across the tiers as far as fails of the week go. Were there any exceptional own goals? Was there some horrific defending? Let's find out. These are your fails of the week.
And now we have RSC-eu's fail of the week, brought to you by trophi.ai. Haha, well, if you're on the video this week, you should probably go and buy yourself some coaching under code RSC-eu.
Hi again, it's me.
What can you do about the respawn positioning, boys? Come on now, that's unlucky. That is incredibly unlucky. Pegasus, only 2 fails of the week this week, but yeah. I think the level maybe needs to rise for week 2. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Blake's fail was pretty egregious. I mean, if we need to play by play Blake's fail, because first of all, we first enter the clip. He's doing like a front flip, but he doesn't use his flip. He's just like doing like a barrel roll for some reason in the center of the park. Then rotates near post, cuts his teammate's rotation. I don't know if he's going for a wave dash or something. Even said, why are you going for a wave dash towards the ball? Slots it top corner. I was confused at the end of the clip, and I asked Ryder and Kingsman what the fail was. Turns out he didn't play for that team. So for me, that is a clear fail for Blake. And as for Toe, that is brutal. It is another rare clip. Like, we've had a few good rare clips today, but again, I don't think that one should win because I mean, all he did was get demoed going for mid boost. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not too egregious. There are so many ways Blake could have just not done what he did. And I'm sorry, the forward roll before the fail even happens, that clip cut there alone would have won my fail of the week. I'm not sure what they were going for.
Yeah, fair enough. Kingsman, Pegasus there is kind of put his flag in the Blake camp, certainly. Talk to me a little bit about why Toes could be considered a fail. What was wrong in the play, in the build-up, to get to the point where he was demoed? What did he do wrong?
You think I was thinking about that? No, I just wanted to see.
Yeah,
how
I do,
he
yeah.
gold.
Okay,
No,
fair enough.
you think I analyze these fail of the weeks? No, I just look at funny fail and laugh at people.
Oh, I'm sorry for asking for analysis on this desk. That's my
no,
fault.
boo. How is that? But on a real, no. How is it a
No.
tie? Because if you want to
I have
look
no
at it,
idea.
one is just unlucky. The other is someone slamming the ball into their own net. Like, there's no comparison. It's just Blake. Blake should win it by an absolute landslide. This chat is poor tonight. This voting is dare I say election like.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Whoa.
Whoa.
We're getting there.
I mean,
we're getting
listen,
there.
it took all of half an episode for Kingsman to start beef in chat, but it's finally happened. So welcome to
political.
RSC Season 17. By the way, Blake did win by a landslide because there's 3 votes for him right here on the desk, which we haven't counted in chat. So that's actually 9-6 in favor of Blake. Blake does take home your fail of the week. Let's remind ourselves of exactly how good that own goal was, and also Toes respawn, but mainly the first bit.
And now we have RSC-eu's fail of the week, brought to you by trophi.ai. Haha, well, if you're on the video this week, you should probably go and buy yourself some coaching under code RSC-eu.
Hi again. It's me.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we can all take a breath after that one, as Blake does take home the victory. Even watching it back, it's a split second, it's a millisecond that Toe respawns that it hits his car. It's a 1 in a million clip. Like, you're not going to see that very often, but it's not a fail. I can't give it a fail. As we move on, then, clip and fail of the week is done. Make sure you get your clips and fails of the week in for next week, please. We want to see as many as we possibly can. So make sure you get those in at the relevant locations, because I don't play this game, so other people know more than I do where to leave it. Pegasus, we've got a bit of time to fill. So what type of clip would you like to see in clip of the week for next week?
In clip of the week. Okay.
In clip of the week.
That's tough. We've got a lot of really good players in Master. I do always like myself a cheeky Master clip, but I feel like, okay, I've got 2 things I want to ask for, and one will be controversial. One, I want a team play. I feel like we see a lot of individual goals for these clips of the week. We actually did have a really good team play, I believe in the playoffs, clips of the playoffs last season. I believe that was coming from the Elite tier, if we remember correctly. That was one of the top for clips of the season as well. Really like a bit of that. My second one, which is a bit controversial, I want a defensive clip on clip of the week. I think we see too many goals. I want to see
Nonsense.
I want to see a defensive clip on clip of the week. You get
So
a
brave.
fancy triple or quadruple
Nonsense.
save.
So brave.
I want to see it. I'm a
Nonsense.
defensive player. I value those types of clips. I want to see them.
Nonsense. No. No,
Kingsman not happy.
Keep
on.
those away. Put those in the clips channel. We don't want to see them here. These are for cool goals.
We do.
Only. No, boo.
Listen, one thing I will say, Pegasus, is even if we do get one, it ain't getting votes, bro. Chat don't care about defensive
I'll
plays.
just enjoy it. I'll just sit back and enjoy
You can
it.
enjoy it. That's absolutely fine.
Okay,
You
I
know.
like your enjoyment.
But yeah, absolutely. It's just not going to get it. Kingsman, talk to me about a fail of the week for next week then. What do you want to see on fails rather than an own goal? What would actually get votes?
I want to see an outrageous mechanic gone wrong.
Okay.
I want to see like someone goes for like a pinch and it just pinches into their own net. Or something like that.
Like a
or
ground
like
pinch.
Yeah. Like a team play. They go for a team play pinch.
A team pinch.
Pinches in the wrong net.
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
Kingsman, how about those plays where you go for a pinch and you just launch off the ball instead? Team pinch, imagine two cars going for the same ball, they both just bounce off the edge of it. Have you
as
seen
long as they concede
when you do that on the wall?
Yes. I have. As long as they concede afterwards, yes, I
Perfect.
want to see that.
I'm
as long
all
as they
for
concede
this.
afterwards,
I'm all
I
for
am.
this.
You have your assignments,
Yeah.
men. Go out and get us what we need for next week's RS Cast. Speaking of what we need for RS Cast, we need to go into our final segment of the day, which is our weekly awards. As always, we will be going through every single tier with their weekly awards over the past week. So let's take a look at the weekly awards that we're going to be giving out for week 1, starting, as we always do, in Academy. And eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Kingsman, it's time for you to let us know what happened in Academy last week.
Oh, you knew Academy was my favourite tier, didn't you? Thank you very much.
I did.
It is Jazz, the MVP. 542 points per game. He's also your finisher, so that's where he's been picking up the points, with the only player with 2 goals per game here. And then someone who's subbed in for a series, I imagine, is Crimson. 80% shooting. He's definitely looking to get picked up, picking up an MVP for striker this week. Then you got Vise tied with Kaji Akori on the playmaker, 1.75 assists per game. And the man, the myth, the legend, if you see him typing in chat, no, he's going to be typing for about 10 minutes. It is Maurice with 2.75 saves per game with Vortex and then God Alliance, actually, first weekly awards as part of RSC.
There you go. Jazz at the double. Fantastic work from them. Let's move on as we take a look at the next tier up. If I remember rightly, it's been a while since we've done this, but I'm pretty sure we just move up and say we do. It's Prospect and Pegasus. Talk us through the Prospect winners from week 1.
I'm surprised that this player is even in Prospect in the first place. Razor with 600 points per game takes your MVP medal with actually Francosola GDBT with the only other player over 500 points here with 529.75 merits, just shy away from that 500 mark. But there are a few more mentions for these Death Cloud players. Razor picking up that striker accolade as well. Roma, his teammate, clearly being the supplier with those 2 assists per game. You also see Razor showing up yet again with a 2.0 and Merits showing up again with a 2.0. These 3 players are absolutely dominating this week. Same as, of course, we got Alex taking the silver for shooting. But another mention is Mate Jabba28 with a 57.14% shooting percentage. For your playmakers, it is Juice with a 2.0. Razor mentioned again with a 1.5 alongside Mitoshi. And then for your savior, there has been a little bit of tie-breaking going on here. It's Rekislaw taking that top golden spot with 2.75 matching detach. And it is Francosola GDBT with a 2.13 for bronze.
Yep, I do think Francis GDBT might be one of my favourite names in RSC. Congratulations on that. That's absolutely excellent. It's up there for sure. Finisher, we have to let people know there was a tiebreaker and it was decided on 16 goals, 8 goals, and 8 goals. So Roma was able to get 16 goals, whereas Razor and Merits 8 goals apiece. Saviour also, I mean, the stat line is very, very even. I don't know what that stat on the right is, but it's the only thing that's changed between the 2 players. Yeah, very, very close. Very unlucky for Detach not to get the Savior of the Week this week. Moving on up to Chally then, as we take a look at the Challenger Players of the Week. And Kingsman Gas is going to talk us through everything happening in Chally, starting with your MVP.
Yeah, your MVP, first weekly award for SCR is Dizzy. He's the finisher as well. Not the striker. That'll go to Panda himself. 56% shooting, whilst being the second place in finisher, is very good. Panda's had a brilliant week there. 1.5 assists per game with picking up 4 sets of top threes there. Panda with a brilliant week for himself there. And Dizzy as well, being on 3 of the top threes. A nice week for himself. 47% shooting with 2 goals a game is very, very good going. Then it's Panda himself, the assists per game. Shoots well and passes well, apparently. And then we've got my GM. It is Buddha, who... very defensive player, but I didn't expect to see him on Savior so soon, picking up the first weekly award for Mistaken Esports with 2.5 saves per game.
There you go. Once again, we've had another tiebreaker for silver in Playmaker. That one very, very close once again. But again, it was based on another stat that, to be honest, I don't know about. There's a percentage on the right-hand side, and sure, why not? But stats are very close this week. That is certainly what we are saying. It's a very, very close game, and Savior, of course, is done based on total saves. So it was 10 saves for Buddha. It was 10 saves for Bloody Guard, to be fair, and 20 saves for Buddha. Let's move on then as we go up to Rival tier, taking a look at the players of the week in Rival. Pegasus, it's been an interesting week in Rival. We talked about it earlier. The only tier to have a team on 0 and 8 after week 1. But who was the top performers from last week?
Well, it was clearly an SCR player. They went 7-1 in their opening week, and it looked like Ethan was a big part of that reason. 530 points per game, 2.5 goals per game, and as well a 52.63% shooting percentage in that bronze spot for the striker accolade. And we're going to have to get some VIR on this one. Shattered with a 100% shooting percentage. How many shots did he take? We can find that out a little bit later. But for your Playmaker, the one providing for Ethan, clearly, the 1.25 assists per game for Keith, though, with Zixify just breaking out there with a 1.25 as well. Storani will be sitting in bronze. And finally, for your Saviour medal, it's going to be Caligo's 2.75 saves per game. Tydeer taking gold again, tie-breaking their way through both Tapey and Skips.
Yeah, so I believe we have got it confirmed that it was 1 shot, 1 goal for Shattered, which is where that shooting
There's
percentage...
got to be a minimum! There has got to be a minimum! Come on!
Dear. Apologies for the anger. It is what it is.
Sorry. No, you're right.
So Playmaker percentages as far as assists per game goes, it's actually done on goal participation percentage. So Kiatho had 61.54% goal participation, whereas Zixify had 56.52%. It's very, very close indeed, but not quite enough. And once again, Saviour is tied for first on saves. Wow, that is pretty impressive. So it's the last stat is TCPG, if anybody knows what that means. But that is the statistic that was the tiebreaker between Tydeer and Tapey. Goodness gracious. It's all kicking off on Players of the Week. So many ties, so many tight score lines. Let's move on to Elite and see if that continues. I'd love to see some players in Elite who have very, very similar stat lines, and we have even more tiebreakers that I don't know any idea of how to define them. Kingsman, talk us through it.
Rahu robbed of MVP by 2. I'm not robbed. I'm okay. I don't know. So I've gone right all the way. All the way.
Wow.
Damn it. I want to say. I don't know why. I just want 1 week. Oh my god, full house. But I want to see just 1 week where we see someone pick up all 5 awards. I mean, that would be so satisfying, no?
It would.
Absolutely.
It would. I've been waiting for it.
Yeah, I'm hoping. But Rilo picks up MVP, finisher, and striker week. Not to forget for him. 560 points, 1.88 goals per game, and 62% shooting. With Rahu finishing second in those 558 points and 1.86 games. Rahu better known for finishing second, so Good for him. Then when you've got J-Wobbs picking up the other 2 awards in Playmaker and Savior, 1.75 assists per game and 2.75 saves per game. If he was on Death Cloud, you'd say you have a partnership in Rilo and J-Wobbs, but we do not. So I wonder where all the goals have been missing from Team Berserkers this week, because J-Wobbs has been doing the second and third man roles with absolute precision.
Yeah, very nicely done there. Absolutely. So, as we are being told, DC and TBK are both 6-2 and top of the table in the same conference. So, those 2 teams clearly starting the season very well. We'll see if they're able to continue it moving into next week. Let's take a look then at the final tier. We go up to Master Tier. We have Pegasus to talk us through everything happening in the top tier as far as our players of the week goes. Who's earned themselves a spot at the top?
Oh, well, haven't earned themselves a spot on a roster yet. It's Charm with 527 points per game. I must say, a player that I'm surprised to not have a roster. Historically, a very, very strong player for the Master Tiers. But anyway, for our finisher and our striker, we have Usyk of Illusory, who has managed to win a tiebreaker for the goals per game stat, just beating out, as we like to call him lovingly on the RSCast, Rapidza. Shout out. I can see he's in chat right now. Usyk also getting a 70% shooting percentage as well. That is with quite a gulf between themselves and Alanis and Charm, who had 55.56% and 50% respectively. And then there is some Team Serene representation for the Playmaker accolade, with Jazz beating everyone. Again, so many tiebreakers this week. It is a 1.25 across gold, silver, and bronze, with Wizzy and Dem taking those 2 outside spots. And for your saviour, it is SCR's Slayer Crime with a 2.75. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, with another tiebreaker. This time against Cena97, who is followed by Charm, who actually has been mentioned 3 times so far on this list, but none of which being silver or gold. So perhaps a player to look out for. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, there's yeah, for sure. Charm is definitely one that if you're looking for a spot, can do worse than Charm, right? Like, absolutely performed very, very well. I believe was on Godalians in that week 1, and they're going to be wondering if they want to keep him for the rest of the season as far as transfers go. But that will do it for us. The players of the week have been dished out, but that doesn't tell us who your team of the week was. No, we've got a very special video for that one. So take it away. Who was your team of the week in week 1? RSC-EU's team of the week, brought to you by SpartanWare, home of the official RSC-EU merch store. There they are, your team of the week for week 1 of RSC. Making sure teams are on notice for the rest of the season. 2 Deathcloud players in there as well. 1 in Prospect, 1 in Elite. So something a bit interesting. And 2 Chrome Esports players as well to fill out the lineup. So very interesting to see these players getting involved and getting at the top of the team of the week. Let's see if they are able to continue that form moving forwards in the season. But that is pretty much going to do it, chaps. We have come to the end of our first RS cast of the season. Big sad, but had to end at some point. Pegasus, do you want to pick out someone from the team of the week to particularly highlight?
Roma, for me, is going to be my standout here for Thunder in prospect. Roma's been around this tier range for quite some time. In fact, he was actually on my roster for a little bit last season, and he's always been a player that can just easily be the best player in the tier if just like little things are worked out. And it feels like with how that last season went, he's been in the lab and already has been off to a flying start in this first week. So I really hope for his sake that continues, and representing a wonderful org as well. So we'll be definitely rooting for them in the coming weeks.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Kingsman, you kind of mentioned it while we were watching the video, but Crisps was someone that you weren't surprised at all was taking to the team of the week. Talk to us a little bit about Crisps.
No, yeah, Crisp has been a player sort of low CMV in Master for a while, but has had an absolute massive glow up from what everyone's telling me, and has been one of the leading reasons why Yuki are as high up the table currently as they are. And no, I'm not surprised to see him sitting on Team of the Week. I think he's a brilliant player in threes, and yeah, fully deserving of Team of the Week. And I'm happy to hear that him and his team are doing so well at the minute in their tier.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go, Crisps, doing some fantastic work up in Master. Right, that is going to do us for our first RS cast of the season. Thank you very much for joining me, gents. Pegasus, let's go to you first. Final thoughts.
Not as much went wrong as I expected in this first week. Honestly,
Huge.
As far as RS casts go, this was pretty darn smooth. It's strange to have an RS cast on a Tuesday night for sure. That's definitely going to be a change we're going to have to get used to. So I guess my last message is thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on a completely different day as usual. It's going to be a short season. It's going to be a fun season. And finally, can we not update the league tables until this stream is finished next time?
Yeah.
Amen.
It's very important. If we are just going to sit here and boo for 30 seconds straight if we see any bigger numbers next week. We will hold this stream hostage. Kingsman, AGM season, end of RS cast number 1. What a couple of weeks it's been for you. How are you feeling about the season as a whole?
We say AGM season like this is new. I'm pretty sure
No,
I've
of course
AGM
not, yeah.
seasons consistently for like the last...
No, yeah.
I tell myself every season, oh, this is the last one. You'll take a break on the next one. He never does. He never does. Yeah, no, it's great. Loving being with Mistaken at the minute this season. It is great. But my message to all the players out there, it's only week 1. And I know it's week 1 out of 5 instead of 9 this week. But there's still a lot of time for stuff to change. And a lot of teams still need sub-games to go. So never give up and never stop fighting for your franchise.
Absolutely the most important thing. Well, we're going to shut this one down. Thanks as always to our sponsors, Badass Studios, SpartanWare, Trophy.ai, and of course, make sure you use our creator code RSC-EU in Epic if you are buying anything from the store. But thank you to Sir Pegasus. Thank you to Kingsman Gas. I've been Rhino. Mal's been the man behind the scenes pushing the buttons. We will see you next week, probably, for another RS cast. Take care. We'll see you there.
This is trophi.ai, an AI Rocket League coach, and it's absolutely crazy what you can do with this. If you've ever heard of ballchasing.com, it's a lot like that, but on steroids.
You can press P and a pro demo will come up, and this is what's so cool and so unique about Trophy, is that this is not seen anywhere else, and it's just a great way to kind of show you how to do a training pack without having to side by side watch a YouTube video.
And this is actually really cool. Training paths. So you basically, you know the skill trees from Assassin's Creed, Spider-Man, Sekiro, you know that sort of games where you have to, you get skill points, use them, you unlock new skills. This is sort of very similar, but instead of actually getting skill points, you're actually doing the mechs. And also a cool feature as well, guys, watch this. You can slow it down. You can actually slow-mo it like this. So if you're really struggling, what you need to do, you can actually look for yourself and just have a look at them exact sort of movements that you're doing there. Look, it's really cool. I really like it. And
Alongside helping with mechanics, it also has a feature that analyzes any of your saved replays. That way you can see what you're doing well and what you need to improve on. It even has this cool post-game analysis that you can see stats from the game you just played.
This isn't just merch, it's what teams wear when they mean business. Every stitch, every print, every detail, made to perform. Trusted by the grind, from grassroots to championship halls. Build your team store. Wear the brand that wins. SpartanWare, trusted by the grind.